My father, in his early 60s, is unemployed for the first time in 30 years and is looking for a new hobby while job hunting. Ideally, it should not be something physically demanding. Story 1. Model kits can be a great choice if he's interested in crafts, as they combine both building and painting in one hobby. Story 2. Photography can be an expensive hobby, but you can start with your phone's camera or anything in between. As Ansel Adams said, the most important part of the camera is the 12 inches behind it. Books and websites on composition and the mechanics of photography, such as ISO, shutter speed, and aperture, will greatly help you get started. Story 3. I definitely support the idea of painting or drawing. I encourage avoiding attempts to recreate people's likenesses, as it can be very difficult unless someone is truly committed to the challenge. Consider taking a walk or drive to a beautiful forest preserve or a nearby lake or river. Draw what you observe and take the time to appreciate your surroundings. Relax and enjoy the process. You can also use watercolor paints. Acrylic paints can be frustrating, and oil paints take a very long time to dry. If blending colors proves difficult, watercolor markers are a great alternative. Story 4. Disc golf is a fun physical activity that is low impact when done with good form. I used to play with a 100-year-old man every week, and he said it kept him alive for another 20 years. You can start for $50, and almost all courses are free to play, allowing you to make friends of many ages. Story 5. How about baking? My grandfather took up baking after Grandma passed away, and he used to make amazing fruitcakes. The recipes don't have to be particularly difficult. Baking is a constructive activity, and you get delicious treats at the end. There is a whole world of baking to explore. Story 6. Rock collecting is a fun hobby. You can buy a rock tumbler for around $40. You can go for walks in interesting places and look at the ground for beautiful rocks. Once you have collected them, take them home and tumble them for 3 to 4 weeks to make them shiny. Story 7. Pickleball is a physical activity, but it is also very social, making it a great way to connect with others. Job hunting can be isolating, so engaging in activities like pickleball can help reduce that feeling. It is an easy game to learn. Story 8. Online chess could transition to an in-person chess club. Landscape painting and drawing are great for getting outside. Reading, meditation, volunteering at animal shelters and soup kitchens, bird watching, and exploring new types of cuisine are all engaging hobbies. There are countless affordable and easy hobbies to consider, and it mostly depends on what he enjoys. He may have childhood hobbies he set aside for work that he has forgotten he loves. It would be a bonus if he finds a group for these activities to socialize while missing the personal contact he had from work. Story 9. Plants and bird identification involves enjoying walks in quiet places and having fun on the road. All you need is a pair of binoculars and identification books or apps, and you are ready to go. Story 10. Learning languages. The Teach Yourself book series offers nearly any language you can think of, from ancient Greek to Babylonian and from Hindi to Bulgarian. Story 11. If you own your car, basic maintenance and repair is a beginner-friendly hobby. Start with oil changes and filter changes before moving on to more advanced tasks like replacing brakes. If you enjoy it, consider working on project cars. You might be surprised at how much you can accomplish with about $200 worth of tools, including a basic hand tool set, a jack, and jack stands. It will pay for itself after just a few oil changes. Story 12. Disc golf offers a way to get exercise, as discs are relatively inexpensive. Many courses in the area are free. Story 13. I'm not sure if you have them in your area, but my husband had to retire early due to his epilepsy, and he struggled until he found a place called the Men's Shed. They have these programs all over the place here. There is a one-time yearly donation of about $100, but the participants meet at a building that has all sorts of tools, machines, wood, and more. They can show up whenever they feel like it, make things, or just sit around talking and having a cup of coffee. He is much younger than the other men, but he really enjoys it and has learned a lot. Story 14. Volunteering is a great way to meet new people and will help him focus on doing something good while he reevaluates his last career move. He might also make a new employment contact. Story 15. Guitar. Buy an affordable acoustic guitar with nylon strings. He can use YouTube and the internet to learn songs. An app can be used to tune it. Story 16. Playing darts requires a board and a set of darts, both of which can be purchased secondhand. The flights and stems are also affordable. Story 17. A lot of people suggested painting. While true, it's hard to get started. I'd recommend painting by numbers since you don't have to come up with your own designs. If he really gets into it, check for local painting sessions. Basically, you sit down and follow the instructor step by step. I've done it once before and it was pretty neat. Another suggestion, which may sound odd, is to get him a cat. It's nice to care for someone, and while it's not a hobby per se, taking care of an animal requires time and thought. Has he ever had any interest or experience with furniture restoration? That's what my mom does. She finds old furniture pieces like chairs and coffee tables and restores them. She sands, repaints, coatings, and makes them sturdy and usable. She also creates her own mosaic coffee tables. Others have suggested gaming, but it requires a genuine interest in playing. It can be hard for many older adults to get into gaming since they may not understand it. What about smaller DIY projects around the house? A lot can be accomplished with a couple of 2x4s and a bucket of paint. For example, I recently replaced light switches in my home. What about improvements to his house? Any other tasks he can manage, like redoing the mulch, redoing the flower bed, planting screening trees, or painting the fence. He could take on a project manager role, figuring out what he wants, doing the research, and calculating costs. Don't older adults also have local activities, such as bingo, dance classes, swimming classes, or even dating? Summary: 1. Painting, starting with painting by numbers. A small maintenance pet. Woodworking or furniture restoration. DIY projects around the house, taking on a project manager role. Any local clubs for older adults? Story 18. Bird watching is enjoyable. Check if your local Audubon Society has any bird walks scheduled. Our local society offers many that are open to non-members. I also recommend the free Cornell Lab app, Merlin, for bird identification. Simply turn on the microphone, and it will identify bird calls for you. Story 19. Playing video games is a good way to keep the brain engaged without requiring much physical exertion. Story 20. Beekeeping might be enjoyable for him if he isn't allergic. It is also not very expensive, depending on the location. Story 21. It may not be something your father is into, but all you need to learn coding and website building is a computer, an internet connection, and access to YouTube. Story 22. Journal, exercise, urban exploration, foraging, guerrilla gardening. Want to add a little excitement? Anonymous journalist. Story 23. Remote control airplanes and cars. You can buy inexpensive foam airplanes. If you crash, you can simply tape up the plane and send it back up. You might need a couple of $5 propellers to replace, but otherwise you can crash those planes multiple times and just tape, glue, or use a toothpick to put them back together while you learn. Cars are obviously not as fragile. Story 24. Swimming. Your local community center or YMCA will likely have lane swimming every day, and it is a great low-impact exercise. Story 25. Geocaching is a moderate activity. You can download the geocaching app for free, and if you really enjoy it, premium access is only $40 per year. There are likely dozens, if not hundreds, of geocaches in your area. It is like a little scavenger hunt that will take you to new places as you search for containers that others have hidden. Story 26. Model trains are available in N or HO scale. Kato produces Unit Rack, which snaps together securely and offers numerous options for creating layouts. You can assemble a layout, operate it for a while, and then easily store it in a small box at the end of the day. It is affordable. The downside of trains is that they can become dull after completing the layout. However, with this system, you can enjoy building and running it every day. Story 27. Fishing is a relaxing activity. You simply cast a lure into a lake while enjoying your iced tea or coffee. Just make sure to wear proper sun protection, including a face covering, sunscreen, long sleeves, a straw hat, and sunglasses. The low pressure will feel intense when you return home and your wife sees you sunburned. Story 28. Photography used to have a barrier to entry, but now everyone has a phone with a camera that is often much better than typical starter cameras from years ago. Story 29. Cities. Skylines, which I wish worked properly, has sparked my interest in learning piano. I also enjoy reading on a Kindle. Story 30. Photography does not require anything more than your phone if you prefer not to spend money. Simply walk around and discover things that look interesting. Story 31. Woodworking with hand tools is enjoyable. Used tools are affordable and can be repaired and detailed. It is a pleasure to refinish a 100-year-old hand plane, and even better when you put it to good use. There are many quality expert videos available online to assist you. Story 32. Board games offer a variety of play styles, from hardcore to casual gamers. A friend of mine brought Jenga to a family reunion, and the elders became completely engrossed. Story 33. Ukulele. There are many beginner-friendly tutorials available on the internet, and a basic instrument costs less than $100. Story 34. Reading, embroidery, sewing, painting, meditation, singing, and stretching as an exercise. Warm up, take it easy, and it will go nicely. Origami. Story 35. Traditional archery. Buying new equipment can be expensive, but there are many affordable second-hand options available. While there are intensely competitive target archers, the traditional archery community is quite different. Using very old-style bows with no sights and often no arrow rests, achieving 100% accuracy is almost impossible. In my experience, when you do fire at a range with others, they tend to be very relaxed. You might be surprised by how many parks in your state have public ranges that are readily accessible. Let's be honest, archery is cool. It's enjoyable to put on a quiver and shoot some arrows downrange. Story 36. Dungeons and Dragons, specifically as a player. $25 for a player handbook. The rest of the books can be found online. $2 to $5 for a set of dice if you want to play in person instead of online. The character sheet is a free printout available on the main site. You only need it for playing a physical game. Use a bottle cap or something as a miniature. Story 37. I enjoy coloring, solving puzzles, and painting pre-made woodwork pieces as my hobbies. They are very relaxing and require minimal effort and physical activity. All of these activities are quite affordable, especially if you look for sales. The only hobby that may be seen as relatively costly is painting, as you will need decent brushes to ensure the artwork looks good and avoids being blotchy or shedding bristles. Story 38. Chess is a game where you can play online for free and receive a rating. Provides good cognitive exercise. Alternatively, you can volunteer at the animal shelter to walk a dog several times a week. Who knows? You might come home with a new friend or a hunting companion. Story 39. Knife sharpening is an ideal hobby for dads. It only requires a sharpening stone, a leather strop, and some time to learn. You will love it. Story 40. Depending on what inexpensive means for you, a Yamaha FS800 guitar picks, a capo, and a tuner cost less than $300. You can add a setup later or learn to do it yourself, which will be an extra $60. There are plenty of tutorials online, and I plan to add my own to YouTube. You can check out Sinister Gates' application. Last I checked, it's free and he's an amazing player. Story 41. Crossword puzzles, scrapbooking, candle making, soap making, crocheting, doodling, gardening, origami, bird watching, learning a language, or learning an instrument. Story 42. Cycling is an activity he is likely to enjoy, especially since he will find others his age. Used road bikes on the marketplace can be purchased for around $100. Story 43. Radio-controlled airplanes are inexpensive and come ready to fly with beginner gyros to assist with stability. Check out Horizon Hobbies for a good start. Find a local club. They are always looking for new members and will help you get started. Story 44. Basic car detailing is easy to learn. Extractor kits that connect to a shop vacuum are quite affordable now. All the detailing brushes are inexpensive and available on Amazon. Story 45. Digital art has an incredibly low barrier to entry. If you are interested in 3D, you can use Blender for free to create movies, renders, 3D printables, and digital sculptures. Even with a less powerful computer, the only limitation is in rendering. Story 46. Fishing can be inexpensive at first, but become quite costly the more you get into it. You can purchase a rod and reel combo for around $50, which can last for years. There are even cheaper options available. Buy some fishing line for about $8, hooks for $10 for 2 packs of different sizes, and worms for $2 per dozen, and you can make a day of it. I recommend a folding chair for $20, as well as a cheap 5-gallon bucket, which you might be able to get for free from a local restaurant, though it may carry an aroma from its previous use if you plan on sitting in one spot for a while. You can cut worms in half and use them on small hooks to catch baitfish. Fill the bucket with water from the fishing spot and attach a water aerator for about $10 to keep the baitfish alive. Just make sure to keep them out of direct sunlight to prevent the water from heating up. This method is particularly effective for catfishing. Some people prefer using goldfish or baby bullheads as bait, which typically cost around $2 each. Deep-sea fishing and bass fishing can be significantly more expensive, but they can also be done on a budget. Let me know if you would like more tips or assistance. Story 47. If he likes riddles or puzzles, then he might be interested in geocaching. There are many opportunities in any town or city. All he needs is the app to get out and explore. You can enjoy it while hiking, visiting the park, running errands, and more. Can also be fun with others, so it doesn't have to be a solitary activity. Some geocaches require hiking to reach the spot, but there are countless options in well-traveled areas. I wouldn't want to stay indoors all the time. It feels like a mini adventure. You can create your own geocache name, and if he finds enough, people will recognize him within the community since you sign the log inside each one you find. Good luck. Story 48. Disc golf is consistently one of the friendliest communities I have found. The game is free to play if you have discs, starter discs are affordable, and everyone instinctively knows how to play. Story 49. Geocaching is a great way to get out of the house, exercise the mind, and have fun. It's as simple as downloading a geocache app and going. All you really need is a pen. If you know someone who already participates, it can be helpful to learn some basic navigation techniques and common types of caches and hides. Story 50. Download the Meetup app online, and it will show you everything happening in those intentional groups in your area. Story 51. Origami is as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. It is always inexpensive. It serves as a form of meditation, offering a real calmness to a perfect fold and encouraging you to take your time. However, you can just as easily make mistakes and try again. I used to rely on diagrams online before video platforms became popular, but nowadays anyone can watch a video and fold along. Some of my favorite designs reside in my memory, allowing me to create an impressive piece in 20 minutes from just a sheet of paper. It is genuinely an impressive skill if you become moderately proficient with a few designs. You often give these creations away because what value do they hold for you? They become free gifts, and the design stays in your mind forever. Although I haven't folded anything in a while, I plan to do some tonight and tomorrow. The surfer, the 4-legged dragon with a tail, and the traditional bullfrog are the 3 designs I can execute perfectly right now. The folding patterns resemble a familiar slow-motion dance, where one part leads you to the next in a calming flow. Story 52. Disc golfing is affordable, simple, and low pressure. It is essentially golfing without the costs and without the golf cart, unfortunately. Story 53. Pretty long comment. Summary. Gaming, firearms, metal casting, and gold panning. Feel free to collapse now. Gaming. You can buy a motherboard that costs more than my entire build, yet my build costs less than some motherboards. I have a decent build. An RX 6600 graphics card and a Ryzen 5 3600 processor with 16 GB DDR4 RAM. It runs all the games I've played except Red Dead Redemption 2, at 1080p with at least high settings and stable 60 frames per second. If you live in the United States, you can build a decent PC with used parts for about $350. Seriously, I wish I lived in the United States for many reasons, but the lower prices for computer components are among the biggest. A new part in the United States may cost less than a used part in my location. Games are sold in multiple stores which have significant sales a few times a year, with some games on discount at any moment. Epic Games offers 1 or 2 free games a week, and during Christmas, they give away free games daily. Usually, these are random indie games, but I've received titles like Tomb Raider 2016, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Dying Light, Alien, Isolation, A Plague Tale, Innocence, Cities, Skylines, and other great games. Just be aware that Epic Games and Ubisoft don't seem to work well together. If you want to get Trackmania, do it from Steam. I don't advocate for it, but there's also piracy in PC gaming. Don't do it. Support the developers. Another topic is firearms. I mention this because my location has restrictive gun laws and is a may-issue jurisdiction, which means they can legally deny a purchase permit for no stated reason, even if you meet all other requirements, including background checks. You don't need an expensive firearm to have fun, and if you can find military surplus ammunition crates, they're usually cheaper per round compared to store-bought ammo. For a more affordable option, consider looking at used firearms, keeping an eye on barrel condition and signs of rust. If you can't own a firearm or choose not to, ranges can rent you a gun and sell you ammunition. If you shoot frequently, renting can be more expensive long-term than owning a gun and buying ammunition. However, if you only plan to shoot a few magazines once a month, renting may be easier on your budget than purchasing a gun and ongoing maintenance, not to mention the legal requirements that vary by location. I'd mention metal casting, but you need at least a shed to keep molten metal dry if it rains while working, and unfortunately, I lack the space. You need a crucible, you can use a steel container. Fuel, each metal has its own melting point. Lead can melt over an open wood fire, while copper melts at nearly 1,100 degrees Celsius, and a smelter, which is easy and inexpensive to make. Look it up online for various designs. Could be as simple as a hole in the ground with a tunnel to force air through with a blow dryer. The key to casting is knowledge. You need to understand the melting points of different metals and alloys, the properties of materials, their viscosity versus fluidity, and different casting methods. Graphite casting molds can be expensive if you want a lot of variety, but you can utilize cost-effective methods. Sand casting is nearly free. You only need sand, some styrofoam, and a bucket. There are also techniques that involve mixing fine sand with oil for very detailed casts, depending on the viscosity of the metal or alloy. Aluminum is quite viscous and doesn't fill details well, while tin is more fluid and produces better casts. Gold panning is another activity. You need a gold pan and a plastic squirt bottle to collect the specks of gold. Again, knowledge is crucial. You might be panning in the same river as me, but find far less gold if you choose a poor spot. Look in the nooks and crannies, refine your technique, and practice gently to avoid losing gold. Additionally, be aware that some countries require permits or outright prohibit panning in most areas. Story 54, 1,000-piece puzzles, books, drawing, and video games like Animal Crossing, writing down your opinions in an essay, and checking to see if you sound pretentious when discussing the things you like. Story 55, fishing has a relatively low startup cost. A simple rod and reel combo from Walmart, along with some lures and hooks, can be obtained for less than $40. Depending on the state, a fishing license can be purchased for under $50. Find a pond, cast your line, and enjoy being outdoors. Story 56, tin flute. They only cost a few dollars, fit in your pocket, and don't carry the same stigma as a harmonica. Place it on the front porch in a rocking chair, and let it become that relaxed old man with the reels. Story 57, trout, bass, or panfish fishing can be expensive, but you can get a $50 ugly stick rod and reel combo and spend $15 on hooks, weights, and plastic baits to get started. Story 58. Throwing objects is a literal practice for me. I acquired some knives from a thrift store and began throwing them. Then, I switched to large nails, which were also quite inexpensive. Altogether, that cost around $6. Next, I crafted for otlotls and purchased one arrow for about $3. When an old broom handle broke, I fashioned it into a spear and practiced spear techniques as well. I aspire to make my own bow and learn how to shoot the arrow I have. Additionally, knot tying is a low-effort activity. It is essentially knitting. Story 59. Macrame, $15 for over 100 yards of cord. I suggest starting with 3-ply cotton cord, getting some 3mm, 4mm, and 5mm. That will be plenty for many beginner projects. I started by making things that we actually need around the house, like a towel rack or holder. Story 60. Painting is a great idea. Your local recreation center might offer sketching classes, or you can check the community college. After that, you can move on to painting. Watercolors are a wonderful medium. Another suggestion, which may seem unusual, is to print some favorite photos in black and white on watercolor paper. Make sure it's not too heavy, so it can go through the printer. Then, you can hand color them with colored pencils, with oil-based pencils being the best option. I used to hand tint my black and white photography when I was using film and could find paper-based printing paper. Story 61. You can find affordable acoustic guitars on Facebook Marketplace. While it takes time to learn well enough to feel confident playing for others, it is low stress and inexpensive to practice at home during your free time. Story 62. Drawing can be quite affordable. A basic pencil set from an art supply store and a notepad of decent paper can cost around $10 to $20. Story 63. Knitting is a valuable skill. My grandfather learned to knit when he was ill with tuberculosis in the 1950s, and he made his own socks. Gardening is also a wonderful activity, whether it involves flowers or vegetables. Participating in games with others at a local club or community center is enjoyable as well. This can include poker, chess, bocce, horseshoes, darts, pool, backgammon, cribbage, dominoes, mahjong, bridge, and bowling. Check for local events happening in your area. Story 64. I wish I could say video games, but they all have a certain language that you need to understand to play them properly. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, in the game portal, it never states that you can use the mouse to look around. That knowledge is assumed and may not be familiar to someone who is not a gamer. Story 65. Collecting can be costly, but there are often cheaper deals available. I personally collect DVDs and do not spend too much on it. Story 66. Paper models, whether printed or created yourself, encompass a wide range of subjects such as planes, tanks, cars, tricks, buildings, and ships. Choose a topic, and there is likely a paper model available for it. Aside from paper, all you need is white or carpenter's glue. Some prefer other types of glue, scissors, a ruler, a sharp knife, and a lot of imagination. Story 67. At 55, this post was interesting to me. I saw a post about a temperature blanket which piqued my interest. I recently picked up some crochet tools and yarn. I have blankets that are over 50 years old, made by my grandmother, and now I want to create blankets for my kids. Story 68. DJing. You can buy a $300 controller and some good headphones for $100 to $150. If you learn how to obtain music legally, you can enjoy a nice, affordable hobby. Story 69. Any reason for the preference for something non-physical? Table tennis is inexpensive to learn, welcoming for beginners, and a lot of fun, though it can be a bit of a workout. Story 70. Winemaking is my choice. You can go as inexpensive or as fancy as your budget allows. You can start with a gallon of any pure fruit juice, a couple of empty gallon jugs, yeast, and sugar. An inexpensive hydrometer is useful for monitoring the alcohol content of your concoction. You can find winemaking supply stores in many cities that sell specialty yeasts, various fermentation vessels, bottles, and corkers. One more thing you need that I haven't mentioned is patience. It will take 3 to 8 weeks for your wine to ferment and settle. I usually keep 4 5-gallon buckets fermenting, starting them a couple of weeks apart. That way, I can look forward to bottling something new every couple of weeks. You're not going to win any blue ribbons. We're just going for drinkable. Story 71. Drawing is an art form that is often perceived as an expensive hobby. However, all you need is a pencil or ballpoint pen and a notebook to get started. Don't overthink it. Just scribble. Draw whatever you like. It doesn't have to look good. The important thing is to enjoy the process. The fun in casual drawing is truly unique. Story 72. Sketching requires a handful of pencils, a piece of charcoal, and a tablet. Almost anyone can become proficient at this with a bit of effort. Story 73. Puzzles are great. They make Puzz 3D, which are scaled versions of famous buildings and various other objects that can be put on display afterward. Some of them are quite large and serve as a good way to pass the time. Story 74. If he is mechanically inclined, he could start repairing carburetors, fixing old chainsaws, or working on any small engine tasks. This work is not very physically demanding since everything is small and lightweight. Could also turn into a full-time job if he wanted to. Story 75. Disc Golf. I started getting into it with a $20 beginner set. The people who play are typically very friendly and helpful, and more often than not, they are willing to assist. I won't disclose what I've invested in it at this point. Story 76. Reading, programming, baking, and playing video games are my inexpensive hobbies. Story 77. Get a cheap pyrography kit from an online retailer, print some drawings from the internet and try it out. If you enjoy it, you can buy some wood from a home improvement store and create more designs. Here is an all-in-one starter class. Wood burning craft box kit. Story 78. Learn to play guitar. You can get a starter guitar for about $100 to $150. Learn a few open chords and start playing songs within a month. Consider taking a few lessons to get started. There is a learning curve, and it can be frustratingly difficult at first, but playing music is one of the most rewarding hobbies. It is something you can spend your entire life improving. If you can find a passion for it, you will never be bored again. Story 79. Taking pictures of my mom's friends. No one thinks I am weird for it, but some of them are quite cute. Story 80. Get him a year subscription to Duolingo so he can learn another language. It can be enjoyable to watch foreign movies and begin understanding what they are saying. Story 81. Winemaking is simple to start. Smoking cannabis is affordable as well. Woodworking is also popular. Many older adults enjoy carving birds from wood, which seems to be a true calling. Story 82. Bouldering only requires some 30-pound shoes from Decathlon and you're good to go, maybe a bit of chalk. $10 a session is good for the workout, and it's mentally challenging because you have to figure out the route as a puzzle. Story 83. Disc golf has a wonderful community of players. It is affordable since most courses are free and, most importantly, it is extremely enjoyable. Story 84. I am a younger man, and most of my hobbies are inexpensive yet physical. Some that are not physical include trout fishing, watching and sketching people at cafes, and growing plants, specifically vegetables and fruit trees. I love each of these activities because they have a natural aspect. Additionally, I believe they are also well suited for the elderly, as I learned to enjoy them from my grandfather. Anything that encourages you to step outside and engage with the world is a valuable hobby. Story 85. Model railroading can be as simple or complex as you want it to be. You can start with a prepackaged set in a small space. As you gain more time and space, the hobby can expand into carpentry, modeling, electronics, and history if you choose to model specific time periods or locations with road name-specific types of freight and scenery. You can also mix and match elements. It is an easy hobby to start, but it can grow significantly with your interests, time, and budget. Story 86. Disc golf offers free courses everywhere, keeping you active without being exhausting. The equipment is affordable and durable, and it's enjoyable right from the start regardless of skill level. It's also fun to play alone or with a group. Story 87. I've taught a few guys how to make hats. It's affordable and easy to start, and you can create all kinds of items. Story 88. Check out Masterclass or Skillshare. There are many new skills to learn. Skillshare is more skill-focused, as the title suggests. Story 89. makes sourdough bread. He probably has everything he needs at home, along with the benefits of fresh bread. Story 90. Crochet is a great hobby. You can watch tutorials online, join a local community, and take it with you anywhere. I carry a bag with a needle and yarn, and I ask my daughter to bring my emotional support bag. It's an inexpensive activity that doesn't need to be perfect, and you can see the results of your efforts. Story 91. Disc golf, painting, drawing, and photography are hobbies he can start with any relatively modern smartphone. He can also learn to use GIMP, which is a free desktop application. Cars can be a cheap and low-pressure hobby. While modifying and owning them can be expensive, there are many other activities in the car scene that are practically free. Additionally, he could learn chess and visit parks specifically to play. Story 92. My dad took up knitting. He has gotten really good at it. He just finished a baby blanket with booties for my cousin, and he has joined a men's knitting group. He says knitting helps with his blood pressure and focus. Story 93. Playing road hockey. The cheapest new stick you can buy is 34 Canadian dollars and 99 cents at SportsCheck or Canadian Tire. It is the Sherwood wooden stick, an old classic, the original stick. You can buy a ball for ball hockey for a few dollars, or find a tennis ball somewhere. A bag of pucks costs less than $20 for sure. A single puck or two may be under $10. There are those green biscuit pucks that roll on pavement really well. Those are less than $20 and are durable. The hockey net is what you need to consider. However, you can probably find a used one on Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji for less than $30. Otherwise, you could use a metal trash bin like in the good old days. Every other hobby I have is pretty expensive in its own way. Photography requires a decent camera at the very least. Those are several $100s at minimum, but a good camera costs into the thousands easily. Lighting equipment ranges from a few hundred to several $100s, depending on whether you want to expand your hobby to studio sessions and indoor portraiture. You need a computer for Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom, and you also need to pay subscriptions for these applications. I also enjoy fishing. Good rods can be as cheap as $60 at Bass Pro for a good ugly stick without the reel. Reels typically cost a minimum of $100. Anything less is usually subpar but still usable. There are rods that come in bundles with a rod, reel, line, and a couple of lures priced around $80. While not ideal, the rods are usually fine, and the reels are generic but functional. Tackle boxes are filled with various baits, lures, weights, leaders, poppers, spoons, hooks, and more. Extra line, whether regular or braided, costs more with higher weight capacity. It gets even more expensive if you wish to acquire a fishing boat for this hobby. That's why road hockey is my most inexpensive hobby. Story 94. Wood burning, puzzles, paint by numbers, word searches, metal detecting, model cars, restoring old dressers and desks, and bike repairs. Story 95. Origami is beneficial for mental health. It offers the opportunity to participate in worldwide challenges and themes, such as the 1000 Cranes Project. I have a bottle filled with origami stars. Each color represents an emotion, and each star contains a written note before folding. Memories of things that happened to me, words someone said, and feelings I experienced. Story 96. Disc golf is definitely a great way to get outside and exercise. You can get 3 good discs for $40 to $50 new. It is not super physically demanding and provides a great mental challenge. There are courses available just about everywhere these days. Story 97. My main hobbies are reading, hiking, and cycling. Reading can be free if you use the library and interlibrary loan for anything your local system doesn't have. Hiking and cycling can be very expensive, but you can also just get some affordable essentials and make it work. Story 98. Puzzles, photography, gaming, reading books, writing, poetry, models, remote control vehicles, gardening, frisbee golf, anime, and writing memories from the past. Hope this helps. Story 99. Any interest in music? I took piano lessons during the pandemic, and it was the right mix of challenge, simplicity, and satisfaction. You can often find keyboards for a low price on local marketplaces or estate sales. Sometimes they are even available for free in my local sharing group. Story 100. I'm going to mention one I haven't seen yet, perhaps a tabletop role-playing game. Many have completely free books to get started, online play, and enjoyable communities. Story 101. Growing vegetables in the garden can be very rewarding. When done correctly, it can save you money since you won't need to buy as much. Nurturing a plant from seedlings to the dinner plate is fulfilling, and there is plenty of information available online about how to grow vegetables in pots and gardens. Clay pigeon shooting is another enjoyable hobby, as the community is very friendly. You can purchase a shotgun for under 200 pounds, and it typically costs around 34 pounds to shoot a round of 50 clays. While it may not perfectly fit the definition of low cost, you won't find a more welcoming community for beginners. Story 102. I do those adult coloring books with colored pencils. I've been doing it since I became sober. It's neat. Story 103. Also, wish your dad good luck. I had a similar situation a few years ago. It can be challenging to find a job after the age of 50. Story 104. Do those wood art and paint by number kits still exist? They come with pre-cut pieces that you paint and then glue to a board to create a cool mosaic picture. Story 105. If there is a senior group for ages 55 and older in the area, he might enjoy joining others for games, pool, plays, photography, or day and weekend trips. An online search should lead him to a website that provides information about the group's offerings and atmosphere. Social photography groups found online, such as on Facebook, can offer a relaxed environment with participants of varying ages. The group I found consists of great people who are always willing to help each other learn and improve their photography skills. Story 106. Gardening, canning, fermenting, baking, permaculture, cooking, volunteering at animal shelters, feeding homeless individuals, and cleaning local parks. Story 107. I knit. I am 32 but love everything about a knitted cap. It can be pricey, but a big box craft store will have cheaper options to get you started. And there are plenty of tutorials available. Story 108. If you live close to bodies of water, fishing can be as inexpensive or expensive as you make it, just like its physical demands. Can be as physically engaging or leisurely as you want. There is a wealth of information available online now. Story 109. I recently got into the world of epic fantasy reading, and it has been a massively fun and incredible time sink. Get a Kindle and subscribe to Kindle Unlimited. They often have great sales and a variety of entertaining series. You can easily get lost for hours with a new series. Story 110. Drawing requires just the right tools. Something to make a mark with and something to make a mark on. It is an activity you can refine and enjoy throughout your life. Story 111. Playing with electronics can be enjoyable. The kits are mostly easy to work with, and Wi-Fi-enabled devices can be entertaining. Additionally, there is some light coding involved. Story 112. Calligraphy. I am not as interested in it now as I was when I was younger, but you can find affordable calligraphy pens in fountain style with interchangeable nibs, as well as markers with fine, medium, and broad tips. Story 113. Turn trash into art and crafts. The results can be much better than expected. Explore resources on platforms like YouTube for inspiration. Story 114. Picnics, or simply eating outdoors in a park, may seem pointless, but nothing beats packing a nice sandwich, a drink, and some snacks for yourself or your companions. Enjoying the breeze and the sunshine, along with all that nature has to offer, is genuinely, in my experience, the most refreshing, calming, and soul-replenishing activity, weather permitting. Story 115. Crochet. You can buy 4 skeins for about $3 each, a size 6.5 hook, and make a throw blanket. Looking at about $20 or less to start. Story 116. Yam is a marvelous and familiar food that is often associated with growth. It is known for its tidy presentation and can offer a comforting texture. Story 117. I have played guitar for years, and you can get started for under $500, with nearly endless budget options. It truly allows for creative expression, and you only need one guitar to enjoy the hobby. Story 118. Singing barbershop harmony. There are chapters all over the world, and he can do it for the rest of his life. Story 119. Macrame is inexpensive to start and involves a lot of knot tying. He could potentially create a second income stream by selling stylish water bottle slings and plant holders. Story 120. Bird spotting is like going for a walk and playing hide and seek at the same time. You also get to learn about your local fauna. Story 121. Bird watching. There is an abundance of books at stores and libraries, and you can enjoy the hobby anywhere for free. Story 122. What about knitting or crocheting? My uncle got into it after a forced retirement and makes blankets and teddy bears for police to keep in their cars if they experience trauma. Story 123. Sudoku, crossword puzzles, and other brain teasers. Volunteering at animal shelters or farms. Drawing and painting from his point of view, whether indoors or outdoors. Setting up bird feeders, bird baths, and bird houses by a window. Gardening, baking. Story 124. If he enjoys pets, there are plenty of dogs and cats that need fostering. The shelters usually cover food and veterinary expenses. Story 125. Linux and software in general. So far, it has cost me an extra old computer that was around $50 in the United States and consumed a lot of my time. A good thing is that you end up learning a lot about computers, and after a year or so, the only thing holding me back on Windows on my main machine is games. A downside is that it requires a lot of patience and reading. It won't work if you go in expecting things to just function the way you are used to. It is also quite technical if you want to get into the details, but if your dad is interested in that and has time to spare, I would recommend it. Story 126. If he enjoys the occasional drink, a good inexpensive hobby is making mead or honey wine. A basic starter kit might cost around $50 to $60, most of which is reusable, and you can build from there. There are numerous recipes available online, along with a large online community for support and troubleshooting. After about a month of fermentation, you can enjoy the fruits of your labor with friends and family, or even by yourself. It is also very easy and not physically demanding. Story 127. You can buy a ukulele for $20. It is probably the easiest instrument I have ever tried to learn. You can easily set it in your lap while filling out applications and pluck on it in between tasks. It has helped keep me sane during a couple of job searches. Story 128. Playing the piano certainly isn't easy, but it is a skill that anyone, regardless of age, can take up and gradually improve. It's enjoyable because, if it's just a hobby, there's no pressure to progress at any specific speed. However, there is clear advancement with daily practice. Story 129. Board games. Find meetups and play other people's games. You just need transportation. If you know which games will be played, you can watch how to play videos on YouTube. If not, no worries. They'll teach you to play. Story 130. Urban sketching is an enjoyable activity. You can use a variety of materials, and it can also help motivate you to go outside. Story 131. I collect action figures. I ran out of space for their larger items, so I recently started collecting Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters toys. I don't want to create or travel. Story 132. I just taught a friend of mine to crochet. More people are interested in it than I thought, so I wanted to share my thoughts. It can be time-consuming depending on what you make, but it feels really rewarding to finish a project. You can create scarves, hats, stuffed animals, and that's just the beginning. These make great Christmas gifts and birthday presents. There are many free videos available online to learn from and numerous free patterns. All you need to get started is a hook and yarn. You can even buy a crochet kit that provides you with everything needed to make a project. If you're interested, there are quite a few starter bundles with a variety of hooks and other supplies. Don't spend more than $30 on those, or you might be overpaying. Some good options can be found on popular online retailers. Story 133. Chip carving is absolutely addictive and could potentially be a small source of income from selling the finished pieces. Story 134. How about a comfortable chair and some virtual reality for the older adult? Remember that the day we start believing we are too old to do something is the day we hit the fast forward button on shortening our lives. Story 135. If he enjoys socializing, tabletop role-playing games are a great hobby. They allow for creativity and require problem-solving skills while interacting with others, making it fun. The initial entry cost is often low, but once you immerse yourself in it, expenses can rise significantly. Story 136. Puzzles, coloring, birdwatching, volunteering, and gardening can be done indoors if there is no outdoor space. But I would recommend using one of the shared gardens to encourage interaction with others. If you can manage a little physical activity, my dad enjoys renovating things around his flat, such as changing wallpapers and painting doors, when he is unable to work. Story 137. If you already have a capable computer, then drawing and 3D modeling or sculpting can be quite enjoyable. It can scale and can become expensive, but only if you want it to. I bought a drawing tablet for $20 and another for $50 3 years ago, and both work fine to this day. The software is free. Krita is for 2D drawing and painting, and Blender is for 3D. Both are incredible. That being said, it will not be something you can master in the time frame of job hunting, which is 1 to 6 months. If you want something that shows results faster, I recommend image editing. GIMP is also a capable free software with many free courses available online. Story 138. Gaming. Xbox or PlayStation 4, or the Nintendo Switch if you want something more portable. It makes it easy to pick up with relatively few frills. If he gets into online gaming, he can make friends while hearing from fellow gamers. It's a great way to stay social while playing. Get a Game Pass, and he can really explore what types of games resonate with him. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.